So with that, let's go ahead and take a look at the bans. Today, once more, Quest Warlock banned away from their opponent. Nalguidan saying, I don't want to play Quest Warlock.
Nobody's beat it. Everybody's either banned it or lost to it in the first time they played it. It's undefeated with multiple bans. Now add another to the ban pile. Quest Warlock is the real deal. And honestly, it makes sense given his lineup. He has the priest, and that's like an impossible matchup. And he's going to need to put his priest through. And I'd much rather face like Demon Hunter, Druid, and Warrior than Quest Warlock with priest. And I think also he knows that priest might be the weak point. But we shall see. Priest has been a weak point in almost any lineup. But Nalguidan does have Highlander Hunter, and he also has Druid, the Spell Druid, in his list. So kind of an interesting list overall. And Empanizado has that Dragon Spell Druid, which is very interesting. It worried us yesterday at the start of Empanizado's series, but then got a little warmed up to it as the day went on, or as the series went on. Thought he was going to get reverse swept in a glorious fashion, but alas, he did not. He was finally able to piece together a victory, and going to get to see it as well again today against Nalguidan. I'm curious to see it in the mirror matchup, just because I wonder if just having a little bit of additional ramp and big dragons is better than having more consistent Goldfly swarms and ways to capitalize on them. Not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. So, what will happen in this series as both these players, I don't think it's exaggerating to say they desperately need the win. It's not looking good for either of these players in Division A. Now, the good thing is that they're in Division A. So, losing, it's not really, losing, having a losing record is not that big of a deal. But Nalguidan 0-3. Empanizado is 2-3, and going 2-4 for Empanizado kind of puts him in the guaranteed bottom 4. And you need to try to improve your spot for playoffs because we only take the top 6, while the 7th and 8th place person goes to the relegation bracket. And Empanizado, after today, will only have one more game to play. So if he loses here, he is on, assuming he's evenly matched, a 50% chance to try and avoid that relegation bracket. And that's a scary proposition. So a win here for Empanizado is massive. A loss here for Nalguidan is devastating. And so, I think that this is potentially going to have huge ramifications. This could be like the foundation blocks that lead towards who is going to be put on that path for relegation after this match.
Yeah. I think Nalguidan is the only winless player left in America's Grandmasters, so that's not where you want to be. Want some W's on the board. At least in Division B, it's like really close at the bottom of the standings. There's like 3 players that are 1 win. Or 4 players that are 1 win, actually. 3 are 1-3, 1 is 1-2. So at least there's people down there with you. Nalguidan's all alone. All alone with the big goose egg right next to his name. We'll see if he can change that today. Putting his faith in did he queue up the spell the spell druid first? I know Empanizado queued up Demon Hunter.
Yeah, Empanizado queued Demon here. Nalguidan queued up the priest.
Oh, priest, like. Okay. We've seen this matchup.
Yeah, it looks like it is priest. Okay, so with this matchup in particular, it feels like if you're Demon Hunter, you don't nearly have to rush nearly as much as you need to in the past. Especially when you're playing cards like Volpera Scoundrel ×2 in your deck list. It feels like the Demon Hunter surprisingly improved in this matchup. I know that sounds weird, but it's like because they're playing like slower deck lists, they have the ability and range to go much deeper into the game now. If Volpera Scoundrel finds Metamorphosis or Skull Gul'dan or heck, even just like Inner Demon, it feels like they have much more threatening combo damage. And then Priest, if they want to turn the corner, want to play cards like Galakron and they can't heal anymore. So I still consider this to be a pretty good matchup for you.
Yeah. I just feel like the priest never can fully stabilize. And that's the issue. Unless the Demon Hunter just has no start whatsoever. You still do need to play for tempo. Because you can't just let the priest develop and have big minions.
Right.
But as long as you're forcing them to react and you have ways to deal with like their early game stuff, they kind of run out of things. This is a hand to do with. Maybe not the second skull. Maybe you'd rather have a slightly better tempo tool in that slot, like a 3-drop, like a Satyr Overseer. But double skull, very interesting. Some altruist possibilities on the horizon.
Yes. Data does kind of show that the matchup is more even than anything, maybe slightly favored one way or the other by like a percent or two. I'm of the belief that a lot of Demon Hunters are still messing up some plays, and I think that Priest still has a relatively straightforward game plan of remove a bunch of stuff and just kind of wait for a win condition based off your card generation.
Mm-hmm.
So if I were to look at who is misplaying the matchups more on average, I would say that it'd probably be the Demon Hunters on ladder that might be playing a little worse than the Priest players. But that's still not to say that the data is irrelevant. I think the matchup can be pretty close, especially since Demon Hunter has lost some of that explosive power they have in that beginning, and each patch is making it more difficult for Demon Hunter to get their early game started.
Demons.
I was going to say that that's just statistically likely because there's been people playing Priest for 5 years, but people have only been playing Demon Hunter for a month.
Yeah,
but
a little over a month now.
But I'm sure that a lot of people have played more Demon Hunter games in the last month than Priest games in the last 5 years. I wouldn't be surprised if it's like half the player base has played more Demon Hunter in the past month than Priest since the game's existence.
That wouldn't surprise me either. That'd be kind of disappointing if that was the case. But
I mean, Priest was never one of the most popular classes. There's been times where it's been like one of the most popular competitive classes, like in the Dragon Priest days, the Draconid Operative days. And Demon Hunter has, it's fast, it's fun,
it's furious.
Yeah. Nalguidan's thought steals not much synergy with each other. Sometimes in Demon Hunter you can find things that are just nutty in combination, like if you picked up a Twin Slice with Glaybon at it. But Beaming Sidekick just going to be played here as a 1-drop to try and contest whatever Empanizado is going to do in his next turn. And this early game has gone, pretty well for Empanizado. He was assuming that his early board was going to get dealt with anyway, but he's still managing to stick threat after threat, which is what you want to do. And then he's going to roll into Skull and be able to start piecing together those big damage turns. He's already got Metamorphosis in hand. So once this first Skull is played, that's when he can start trying to count the amount of damage in his hand and, try and plan out developing and dealing damage each and every turn. And that's kind of where the Priest buckles, is when they have to remove and heal kind of all at once. It just doesn't work that way.
I wonder.
Agreed. They usually kind of have to make that hard decision one way or the other.
Disciple of Galakron's cool because that's the next invoke that he needs to activate the Fate Weaver.
Yeah.
So he can do that both next turn, especially since Empanizado is going to have maybe not a dead turn, but he's not going to be playing anything big. He may play like a Frozen Shadow Weaver tops, maybe a Satyr as well, or a couple 1/1s.
Yeah, and Empanizado has that double Skull of Gul'dan, so he's also going to ramp up his card draw and his abilities as well. It's looking okay on both sides here, and if both players can get off to that fast start, who ends up being ahead?
Thy blood be
I mean, this is not
again.
super fast for Priest, but it's pretty fast.
Demon Hunter just has so much damage potential. There's just so many ways for them to win. Like, at this point in the game, if Priest isn't ahead, I usually will side with Demon Hunter. Like, if you look at the amount of damage that they can just deal over 3 turns with double Gleipbound Adept and Metamorphosis,
I wonder.
it's just insane. Like, just with the things that you need to activate it, whether it's Twin Slice or Hero Power Warglaives, it's like 25 damage over 3 turns a lot of the time. That's not factoring in any minion damage. It's not counting the possibility for like Chaos Strikes mixed in or Altruis, you know? You have to be able to do so much in every given turn as Priest. Unless, like I said, you get ahead at the beginning of the game. If the Demon Heart gets too greedy and doesn't get onto the board, and you're just like sticking a Fate Weaver and you can apotheosis it, and you just never lose from that point. But as long as Empanizado can make sure that he's dealing damage while also not being at risk of apotheosis, blowing him out of the game, I like his chances.
Yeah, and I think that if you look a little bit closer at, what the hands usually say what you should be doing, Empanizado's hand is just telling him to combo.
Yeah.
So, is it okay to once more just play Skull of Gul'dan and then... like, it doesn't seem like you're going to win the board. That's all I'm saying right now.
Yeah. He would be scooping to apotheosis, but maybe not. Maybe Altruis is this next skull. Maybe he finds another Twin Slice.
Poor warlock.
Glaybound, great. I-beam, meh. Oh, Valpyr Scoundrel. Now
Sure.
that's value.
Yes. Has to find out what spell he wants to discover here.
Twin Slice
Wind
every time.
Slice. Yes.
Oh my goodness. Look just how much without Metamorphosis, how much damage he can deal next turn. Kane, Glavebound Adept, Chaos Strike, Twin Slice, Second Strike. That's 5, 6, 10, 11, 12. Just 12 damage from hand with no Metamorphosis, and that only costs him 5 mana.
This is a funny game. Funny game in the sense that this seems so unconventional, and if I'm Empanizado, I'm thinking about Metamorphosis play right now.
Yeah, like Hero Power Metamorphosis and did Metamorphosis damage.
Yeah.
He's still missing like one piece, right? Whether it's second Glavebound, whether it's Warglaives of Azzinoth.
Altruis.
He's missing one, or Altruis. It's like one more key big damage thing. Before like it's like, all right, pull the trigger, let's go.
Right.
I mean, he'd be pushing 8 this turn with 17, 18 damage lined up next turn.
Time grows short.
That's a lot.
It's a lot.
I grow impatient.
Like he's just gonna take it a little bit more straight up. Oh wow, he's legitimately just fighting for board. Okay, so I totally understand this play, and I think Empanizado just couldn't really justify it in his mind. But this feels so easy to destroy, and this feels like the potential point of no return for the demon.
I don't like that.
I agree here. I think this was pretty suboptimal.
So you leave the board alone, sure. Apotheosis is gonna lose you the game. You do this. Shadow Madness Penance, Breath of the Infinite, all of those things lose you the game.
You can also just Galakrond here, to be honest.
Could also Galakrond, and it's not like he even cleared off every minion. So
Right.
it wasn't even like he played around the possibility of Apotheosis, because he still gave Nalguidan a very good target for Apotheosis, which is a high health minion. So, I don't know. I just saw a whole heap of damage go into minions when it probably should have gone. Dad,
Yeah.
he had like lethal over 3 turns. It was
Yes.
exactly what I talked about. He dealt 7 last turn. He dealt 18 the following turn after that, and that's at minimum, right? And with mana to spare. Only thing that punishes him is Apotheosis, maybe Galakrond, but then you can play a longer grindy game because the hero power's gone. So damage is more likely to stick. I don't know. I think he's done too much damage into it.
I agree. I fully agree. I think that Empanizado had an opportunity, and now I think that he is just on borrowed time. That being said, there's still some amazing burst potential now. It's just that it's been hurt. So if he wins, he's gonna barely get there just in time, you know?
Yeah.
Time grows short.
Hey, I got you, friend. Hey, I got you, friend.
Yeah. Just so much damage going into minions.
And that's okay for Nalguidan. He can deal with that. Priest can deal with minions. What they can't deal with is damage from the hand. That's been like a problem for half a decade for this class.
Count your blessings, mate.
He's not even scared.
It's so sad.
I want to cry. Just want to cry.
So sad.
He's at 29. He's used both
know.
skulls.
He can double the amount of damage he's dealt the priest.
Now I am complete.
He's still putting damage into minions.
No. This just can't be the way you win. It doesn't feel like a winning line here. This is weird.
Like, what's even the maximum damage that Empanizado can deal for the rest of the game?
Well,
he does have both Warglaives.
Okay, so that's 12 damage each. That's 24.
Okay. Kane is 27. Twin Slice, 28, 29. Hero Power Return, that's over 5 turns. That's 35.
I get.
Blade Dance honestly seems okay. Assuming your opponent's going to play minion. All right, mystery choice into Skull.
Yeah,
That's cool also.
What? You gotta be kidding me. Is he gonna win anyways?
Wait, where? Oh, he got the first Twin Slice from the last Scoundrel, right?
Right.
Yeah, okay. I was like, where did he get all these Twin Slices?
Okay.
Ugh.
There isn't any targets for Shadow or Death in this deck anymore.
No.
Mind Games' his deck he's just almost decked out.
Yeah, what can you hope for? You can mind games and get, Wait, does he even
What
have
is in
minions
Doom's
left?
will?
He's got to have minions left, right? Yeah, he's got a Battle Mage, he's got a Shadow Weaver, an Overseer. He's got stuff.
Yep. And Nalguidan recognizes Empanizado's last out is Ultra, so he's saving Breath of the Infinite and Galakrond for the burst heal if he needs it.
Yeah. I mean, there's a world where Empanizado just still wins this game. Wait a second.
Demons? Demons.
I mean, he's got like 14 bursts in a turn if he just sets up the Warglaives and attacks.
Yeah. He actually has 21 burst. He could have dealt 21 damage that turn.
Oh my gosh, is this really happening? Oh, that's funny. You can just Murazon right back. Hmm.
You think this is your time? It is mine.
And an important thing is that he's presenting an 8/8 on the board. Okay, so
Do you see what
I mean,
must be done?
I'm just gonna go ahead and wait. This is a lot of burst.
It's 22 damage max,
Okay.
I think.
What's important is that he's gonna kill this Murazon, right?
Oh yeah, yeah for sure. He's killing the Murazon. So if my calculations were correct,
Fires of vengeance burn.
he'll be at 4. Nalguidan will be at 4.
Yeah, but Empanizado would be all in. Super all in. He's gonna be at 3. TJ.
Okay, I didn't count hero power.
But that is it. That's like, oh wow. Apotheosis. So he can Shadow Madness, Apotheosis, trade, and then Breath Infinite. Does that clear everything? And gain him some life?
Yeah, it does.
And he can heal.
He can also, oh, does Altruist deal the damage? Because he can Shadow Madness the Altruist, then Apotheosis.
You can't, because Altruist is 4 attack.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Man. I got excited there. Would have been a cool play.
It would have been a sweet play. That's for sure.
You throw in a penance also. So, yeah, Empanizado's just out of direct damage. He has his last 3 cards, I think, are Satyr Overseer, Frozen Shadow Weaver, and Battle Fiend. None of which deal direct damage.
All I see is weakness.
He's dealing 4 a turn, but Nalguidan's negating 2 of that every turn.
We're with you.
So he would take 2, then Penance go up to 6, Hero Power go up to 8.
Yeah.
Next turn he can heal Galakron, what is most likely the last threat, and then he wins because he sticks a 3/6 on board and Empanizado starts taking fatigue. I think you still need that hero power this turn. I don't think you can play the Galakron this turn. Unless he thinks that he's going to get a big enough minion to challenge and fatigue. I think it's just hit penance, heal.
Yep. Agreed. This is the fatigue plan here for Nalguidan.
Not many cards left.
Yeah. So I think there's Battle Fiend and then Frozen Shadow Weaver is the last card. Which Frozen Shadow Weaver could be like it could freeze the minion and force Nalguidan to have removal or trade into it, but Oh, man. Okay. Cute play, but now he only has 2 attacks left. He's hoping that this Battle Fiend doesn't get answered.
I guess it's Galakron time.
Yeah. So if you work out the math, he heals first.
Yes.
Galakrons. And then
What
you just
is
play
your
the Sethic
minions
Veilweaver,
with?
probably, so you have a minion in play. Because he knows that Frozen Shadow Weaver's the last card, maybe he'll try and find something more impactful with the hero power. He would go up to 11. Empanizado has 8 damage over the next 2 turns, but then 1 damage each turn after that, unless his minion sticks. He also starts taking fatigue. Yeah, I mean, he has to Galakron or he dies. I think the question is, do you hero power or do you Veilweaver? I think you Veilweaver. Alright, never mind.
Yeah, just this is the best defense that you have, but
Alright, so if Nalguidan does not find a way to block this damage, he's dead to the Frozen Shadow Weaver.
oh my goodness.
He needs a taunt or heal or anything. That's not it. He needs something from this or his hero power. Murazan not enough. He died
Well,
anyway.
He can hear power. He can hear power, right?
He still can,
Hero
but
power.
his outs are incredibly limited.
There's taunt minions. Aeon Reaver. Oh my gosh! Are you
He died
serious?
anyway.
Okay. How can someone look at this and tell me that this matchup is deep?
He sunk like 25 damage into minions. And he still had enough.
What about?
Granted, that was a nutty mystery choice from the
Wait,
Rapiro
oh, wait,
Scoundrel
wait,
and then a
wait,
nutty
wait.
Ultras.
Wait. Sethic, Veilweaver, and you can Shadow Word Death the minion.
Oh!
Wait, but you only have 0 mana.
Lazul's
Am I
scheme,
missing
does
something?
it start at 0? No, he'd still die.
Wow. Unbelievable. What a game. Every ounce of damage mattered for this deck. Honestly, I don't disagree with the way Nalguidan played that game at all. I just think that he just didn't have enough punch to either like reverse and put pressure on the Demon Hunter, or he just didn't have enough defensive tools. Like he just kind of played whatever he could. I think he greed at the right amount.
Yeah. I mean, he played his minions when he could have played minions. He didn't have Apotheosis when he could have capitalized on Apotheosis.
Right.
Even though Empanizado was aggressively trying to play around Apotheosis by sinking damage into minions, there was the turn where even though he sunk like 8 damage into minions that turn, he still left a 2/6 up. So, couldn't get Veilweaver value off. Like, just kind of weird, right? Like, those are games that you'd usually see won when the Demon Hunter sinks that much damage. But I think what Nalguidan was probably thinking was, both skulls are gone. He draws 1 card a turn. Altruist is still many turns away from being able to affect me. He has to hold on to every resource that he has if he wants to make Altruist work. But then he rips Skull off of Rapiro Scoundrel, so then Nalguidan's game plan goes out the window because he no longer has time to play minions, and Empanizado can go off with the Altruist. So really rough game for Nalguidan, and Demon Hunter pulls through. So crazy. So crazy.
Well, that's just game 1 of this best of 5. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to have more action between Nalguidan and Empanizado.
Hearthstone Grandmasters is brought to you by T-Mobile. Rank up with America's largest 5G network. Switch to T-Mobile today.
useless spec? Nope.
쓸데없는 정보? 생각이 안 나네.
A useless fact I know is a day is 18,6,400 seconds.
제 친구가 요리 유튜브를 시작했는데 구독자가 지금 700명 넘었어요.
아, 나 근데 이런 거 잘하는데. 근데 최근에 뭐 아는 거 있어요.
밥에다가 그 귤이랑 김이랑 해서 먹으면 연어 초밥 맛이 난대요.
귤이랑 김이랑 싸가지고 간장에 찍어 먹으면 약간 연어 초밥 맛 난다고 해요. 믿을 만한 소스가 알려졌어요.
That's insane! Boston just has the flick in hand! Goodness gracious, Eddie. Not happy to see that.
What was his draw? Twin slice?
Oh my goodness. Oh my double goodness. We have a new member in the Hall of Champions.
That is the most insane thing I've ever seen happen in Hearthstone.
We are back with more Hearthstone Grandmasters action. Empanizado with a nail-biter of a win over Nalguidan. It seems like these priest games are coming down to like 1 or 2 hit points on both sides and just narrow victories that make such a big difference. Remember, Empanizado winning here this entire series puts him back in playoff contention. A loss here for Nalguidan puts him very unlikely to make playoffs in general. So
yeah,
this is tough.
It's kind of weird. It honestly feels backwards, right? It feels like it's opposite day. Because usually what happens is the priest is the deck that gets those randomly generated effects like Thought Steal or Madame Lazul that gives them the edge to beat an honest deck, right? Like Warrior or Demon Hunter. But what's been happening is the Warrior, in the case of the last Europe series with Bunny Hopper versus Hunter Ace, was getting the crazy randomly generated thing that won him the game. And then, not as much as that one, but Empanizado in this game getting the mystery choice Valpyr Scoundrel Skull to give him ammo for his Altruist was what won him the game. So it feels like we're an opposite day where Priest is the honest deck that doesn't have the value, and the Demon Hunters and the Warriors are these things that are getting these tools from outside of their deck to help them in the matchup. It honestly feels pretty weird, and it feels like that's what's been happening today. And you know what? More power to him, Dan, because I wouldn't be... it's not a slight at Priest, because I've been playing Priest. I've been playing Highlander Priest. It's a fun deck. But the less Priest next week, the happier I'll be.
That's right. The less I Priest, the better. One of my favorite songs. Now you're not going to turn to Priest again. Previously on Hearthstone Grandmasters, we saw this matchup go to the wire. And it was almost a opportunity for Bloodyface to close it out, but he was short a single point of damage. Bloodyface did end up tweeting, by the way, during the break, and that he wasn't even happy with his deck list this week. And he says he's going to have to step it up in the last couple of weeks. What a mind of a champion. He's undefeated going to this week, takes a couple of losses, but instead of blaming bad beats or any kind of unfortunate outcomes outside of his control, he says, I got to step it up, and you love to see it.
That's interesting, because I like the core of his lineup. I think the Rogue is just the one deck that I would disagree with, and maybe that's what he's talking about. But the core of Demon Hunter, Spell Druid, Warrior, I think is great. You throw in a Highlander Hunter there, you're cooking.
Right. You can't really argue with those three.
The three highest win rate decks. Or put Highlander Hunter in place of Rogue, that's the 4 highest win rate decks at like Legend rank right now.
I would say that Druid is still a question mark for me.
Yeah. I tend to overvalue it just because of my own experience with the deck.
Yeah, TJ is how those kids say a high roller. But
the deck has a lot of high roll potential. There's multiple hands that are considered high roll. That's the crazy thing. Just a
point
full-on ramp
notwithstanding.
hand.
Not a point notwithstanding.
I'm a dirty high roller.
TJ is a Uncle Fortune schemer.
Yeah, and if I don't have it, then I have Wild Growth, Overgrowth into Kael'thas Overflow into Ysera. All 7 Dream Portals on single turn. Savage Roar for the kill. Yeah, I know. I do feel like I get disproportionately lucky on the deck compared to what we see from players in Grandmasters, and that leads me to overvalue it. But I don't know. It's just how I feel, Dan, deep inside. I'm just a Spell Druid gamer.
Yeah. Yeah, you are.
Speaking of Spell
Against
Druid.
Priest, though, this deck... So this is where I think Empanizado might just be a genius. I think that specifically this deck list excels versus Priest because they give you all this time to assemble. Look how much he's pacing himself. He's gonna Wrath for 1 against the Veil Weaver. Usually you see people just like immediately kill that. He's like, I'm just gonna draw a card because I know you can't punish that.
Yeah. So Seiko played a very similar version of this deck in Europe earlier, except instead of a Twin Tyrant, he played a Nixia. And instead of the second Mount Seller, I believe, he played an Emerald Explorer and a second Glowfly Swarm instead of second Swipe. And while he lost the series earlier in the day, I think he did win the Druid game, but barely. It was like really close. I actually can't remember. But the deck seems to work, but it feels so janky. Like Spell Druid has the standard Spell Druid has like these obvious combos, right? You Glowfly Swarm and then you follow it up with Savage or Power of the Wild to solidify your board state, right? You could have a turn 5 victory by coining or integrating out a full Glowfly Swarm and then Savage the next turn. Right. This deck has no way to capitalize on Glowfly Swarm. It doesn't play Power of the Wild. It doesn't play Savage Roar. It does have cheap spells for Exotic Mount Seller, but then again, it doesn't have any way to capitalize on those Exotic Mount Seller boards with Power of the Wild or Savage Roar. It runs way more minions for Fungal Fortunes, so you're more likely to discard things. And then it doesn't even run like cost discounts, like the Imprisoned Satyr for Alexstrasza or Malygos. So, like, you don't OTK because you just don't have enough mana to be able to do that with Malygos without cost reductions. The power comes from consistent ramp and card draw, because you play Breath of Dreams, Overgrowth, and in Empanizado's case, Wild Growth. And you're a ton of removal in the early game, so you're very likely to get to those late turns safely, and then just big dragons, and just hope that your big dragons are enough to win the game. It's kind of cool. It's like more simplistic, right? You just win the game with big dragons, and it worked out for Empanizado yesterday, but it took him 3 tries to do it.
Well, this Fungal Fortunes, the Wild Growth is pretty good.
Yeah, Wild Growth will bring him up to 8 mana next turn, which means he can innervate a big dragon. He would also be able to innervate a big dragon before Nalguidan would be able to Merz on it.
Right.
Or Natalie Celine it, if that was one of his, if he were to get that from an Invoke.
And I think Nalguidan is recognizing that he really needs to put on the pressure. And now this Iron Bark actually makes this kind of unkillable. I was like, what is happening?
Moonfire off the top? Nope.
It's like, this is why I kill every minion on Priest ever. This is why. What do you do to this?
This is what Monsanto was playing around in the Demon Hunter game. And it worked.
This is ridiculous.
But you can't do that in Druid. You can't just spend your turn using all of your removal spells to kill a 6/6 and not do anything else. So I don't think he even could have killed it last turn because he drew into those cards. He can try and stick a Malygos? I don't know. Next turn he has the removal for it if he holds on to Innervate. Like he could Malygos, Moonfire, Innervate, Crystal Power. That's if it doesn't get buffed again. And then what does he do otherwise? Does he play Glowfly Swarm? Do you play just Twin Tyrant?
Twin Tyrant at least gets damage on it, but this is a scary position to be in. Because now Priest can leverage their removal to kind of play it like Mage, where they just like have a threat and just answer your board while developing. Answer your board while developing. And pushing damage. This is really scary. So, I mean, Breath Infinite looks really good here. Now you're just thinking about how else he really wants to go about this turn, because he does have a couple of different ways he can go about it. He could develop a little bit more proactively with the Mind Flayer, for example, just to get a little bit more stats. And I mean, his opponent's at 24, and if he's able to set up 12 damage, that could feasibly push lethal over the course of a couple turns.
Yeah.
No, just taking it slower.
Yeah, I think he realizes that Mind Flayer, because of just all the massive minions that Empanizado plays, is going to get probably a good amount of value.
Yeah, wow,
like next turn, this turn, Empanizado plays Malygos. Nalguidan just Mind Flayer and then Time Rips.
Yes, and then now he has his own Malygos.
And now, yeah, he essentially, well, he has his own Malygos that's trapped in the body of a 3/3. But
I would watch that movie.
Yeah. It's like Freaky Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, about that.
I can't wrap my head around this deck, man. I can't.
I wonder.
I think I'm too simple-minded to wrap my head around this deck.
I mean, it's actually a pretty simple deck. You just draw your deck in Malygos and try to combo it, but he's the one, he's like, it's like kind of a role reversal. Like the Priest just plays a more mid-range approach, and all of a sudden, you just kind of get there against them.
Yeah. The Ysera Unleashed is the
Time
big,
waits for no
right?
one.
That's like the big power spike of the deck. Because you don't have the cost reduction, Malygos and Alexstrasza don't seem that good. Alexstrasza feels like it effectively acts as a Savage Roar effect, right? You build up a big board and then you Alexstrasza, and that's where your additional damage comes from.
Wing blast.
I'm probably just playing stuff here.
Anything is fine. The second Apotheosis looks really good to me as well.
Yeah, I mean, what else is he going to do with the mana?
All bound to fate.
My hand is too full.
Empanizado.
There's 10 damage represented.
Yeah.
My dream is your
So he's okay. Gonna hope for the Dragon Portals, but you know the question becomes: if you were gonna hope that Dragon Portals can get you there, then what was the whole point of all this then? Of like the Malygos combo, right?
To remove the board. Honestly, that like the ability to combo with Malygos just seems like a secondary benefit to playing the card in the deck, where the main benefit is like it's a 4/12 that if you don't kill will punish you. That can also remove the board with Moonfire, Bog Beam, and Crystal Power when it's played.
Well, now that's burst. So
Wait, he's got. Oh, okay. He also has a Malygos tucked away into this 3/3, so that's
Right.
a lot of burst.
oh yeah, what if he Wrath? Okay, so you attack with everything. Wrath your own. Oh, he had lethal. Wrath your own Mind Flayer and then swipe for 9.
What did he spend his extra mana on that turn?
Galakron.
Oh yeah.
So he just
You
could
missed
have just Wrath
lethal.
and swiped. Okay, to be fair, that's a pretty obscure lethal. But yeah. It is pretty obscure, though.
I mean, no matter what Empanizado does, even if he draws all of his Dream Portals here, Nalguidan kills him.
True.
Through as many, even if they're all Emerald Explorers. Maybe
What
not
if
they're all Emerald Explorers.
Yeah.
Time waits for no one.
No.
If they're
even
all
if they're
Evasive Draconids, there you go.
There you go. Empanizado going to go for one last ditched effort.
He doesn't-
Dream Portals. Oh no, he's going to take the rest of the turn.
Yeah, he just doesn't have time.
That's why you got to play quicker.
My hand
Oh boy.
Yeah, he's dead.
And I mean, it wasn't even necessarily through some kind of cool Abramaligos play, because you could just Shadow Word Death and push through. It could be cool. Show us a cool play, Nalguidan. Show us a cool play.
Attack and swipe. That's it. That's all it takes. Come on, man. There's a Malagos in there.
Yeah, he's not messing around. He's 0-3 right now. I think he's just laser focused on getting the win.
Yeah. Whew. Well, he does get the win through with Priest. That's a big one. As we've seen Priest be a pretty big weak point in a lot of lineups. So
right.
he has Highlander Hunter and his own Druid remaining for the Druid and Warrior of Empanizado.
It still looks good for Empanizado on paper.
Yeah.
It seems like Empanizado has the odds in his favor, so we shall see. Spell Druid against Highlander Hunter does have the small edge, as it is, one of the focus decks, especially just having a pretty good spread. Right now in Legend, Spell Druid doesn't even have any awful matchups. You play like Demon Hunter, for example, it gets crushed by Warrior. And Warrior gets crushed by like Priest. And there's like this weird like rock, paper, scissors there. But you kind of put Spell Druid that's, usually up to 55% against most decks and at worst 45. But it just has a lot more 55% matchups, it feels like right
now.
Yeah. So that's why it seems like a good ladder deck to climb. And now that there's no Warrior, Priest, or Demon Hunter to worry about, there's only just other Druid and the Highlander Hunter. I still gotta think that Empanizado's in a good spot. It's just that Priest was probably a tricky spot for him to overcome.
Yeah. The biggest question for me is the data kind of gets thrown out the window when you consider that there's just not much data for Empanizado's version specifically of the Druid, because there's just not many people playing this version. So I honestly don't even know how to evaluate a lot of the matchups. Like, it seems like it has similar ones across the board. I think it's weaker to Priest than the normal version, but maybe Empanizado thinks otherwise. Maybe stronger against Warrior.
Yeah, it sounds right. So we'll see
But he
how
banned
that
Warrior.
ends up.
So I don't know, Dan.
Excuse me, dude.
Weaker in the mirror, also probably. But then again, I don't know that one either. Like, you still have most of the same stuff. It's just if you land a Glowfly Swarm, it's not necessarily game over for your opponent.
Yeah, there's no way to really snowball your victory. It feels like. Sorry, just this whole conversation makes me so emotional.
It's okay, Dan. It's okay.
Yeah, sorry. Anyways. Nalguidan doesn't have the tools to be able to immediately answer it anyways, so I still feel like Glowfly Swarm is threatening its own right. Lest we forget that sometimes these kinds of Druid decks can just curve out and just burst you if you're not careful. Sometimes we just see Malagos raw Moonfires to 12. That ends up ending the game.
Oh, we got overgrowth on both sides.
Okay, so this looks like an opportunity to overgrowth, right? And then you can overflow afterwards. Or you can go for the Glowfly Swarm here, one or the other.
I think I like Glowfly Swarm first, and then overgrowth into overflow.
Yeah, that
Maybe that's
makes
wrong,
more
though.
sense because it makes a lot of sense because you present the threats first, your opponent can't respond to it. Like if you Glowfly Swarm here, then your opponent overgrowth, you just got 6 free attacks, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, 5. Oh, it's only 5 actually.
I still like it better, just because, like you said, you're capitalizing on the overgrowth turn, and you respond with your own overgrowth turn, and then you can overflow after that and try and solidify the board.
That's fair.
Yeah, so I like this play.
Yeah, it seems entirely reasonable to go for it, and if anything, 10 damage is 10 damage.
Yeah.
I know, hard-hitting analysis, but the idea is that it gets you closer and creates breakpoints that are much easier to hit in this deck. And not to mention that Nalguidan still has to deal with this in some capacity.
Yeah, because his own Qualified Storm is also only 5.
Right.
And Nalguidan's follow-up to this is non-existent, unless he picks up, like, Innervate. So... Alright, now the choices begin. He's got some VTs here, Dan.
Yes. The double Iron Bark plus Overflow does look pretty good, and remember, he's not he only has the Mount Cellar. He's not saving it for some kind of Kale Thoth opportunity, so there's less value in holding things like Iron Bark unless you can have those exotic Mount Cellars in hand. And Nalguidan's kind of demonstrated an inability to deal with the board, so he would he needs to answer the board through minions. That's the way he seems to be trying to fight against, which is obviously not a preferred method. I think most people would try to, of course, use a big AoE if they can, but Nalguidan doesn't seem like he has the resource to do that.
No. He's not playing a Starfall in his deck like Bloodyface was. He's playing double Savage Roar, though.
I mean, so I think when you play things like double Savage Roar, it's only because you're trying to draw one of them a little bit more frequently.
Cool. All right. There is an opportunity here for him to just stick a Mount Cellar. Even though he doesn't have the spells to be able to capitalize on it right now.
Right. Druid can't deal with it very easily.
Yeah.
Unless they just have, all of their suite of removal. Fog Beams, Wrath. And that takes, a lot of their turn, it feels like.
Yeah, or at least a lot of resources. Worst case scenario, Nalguidan plays his own Mount Cellar and then has all of those. Those Mount Cellar double Bog Beam Crystal Power or something like that. But he doesn't even have Crystal Powers left. It have to be double Bog Beam Wrath. But I think you're willing to take that risk because the upside is you have a Mount Cellar.
And you got to play it before their Mount Cellar.
Yep.
Now, that being said, Nalguidan gets the first right of refusal, so to speak. He can just go ahead and play his Mount Cellar and then capitalize off of cheap spells.
What to do?
I mean, I'm just basically saying that he is allowed to do this. I'm not sure if it is something that is good in this spot. It might be one of those things where, is it better just to play the Dragon Queen Alexstrasza? Because you can't answer this Mount Cellar anyways. So instead of trying to go for a half-hearted Mount Cellar play that might do something, just play the Ysera?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with this.
He still has a good amount of cards left in his deck. But I agree with the assessment of, well, what else are you going to do? Oh, my goodness. So Bog Beam is 8. I think you just stick the Malagos and Bog Beam. Like he
Sure.
It's nearly impossible unless he gets a lot of Dream Portals and multiple spell damage dragons to kill the Malagos, since he just didn't kill the Mount Seller. And again, the upside is you stuck a Malagos, you swipe whatever board he develops on the backside.
I agree. He's demonstrated inability to deal with it. Why would this be any different?
Yeah.
That's how I see it.
Time waits for no one.
It's kind of funny because oftentimes we talk about like Malagos from a Dream Portal being outs in a lot of situations. Empanizado just cut out the middleman.
Yeah. He's just playing his minions, his biggest minion on curve, and like, can you deal with this druid? And druid's like, well, it's 2020. You like removed naturalized to the Hall of Fame years ago. I guess I can't. It's like, we're never printing mulch again. At least not for a while, obviously. Just how does druid deal with these giant 412? They never could, and it seems like they still can't.
Oh, got a Dream Portal. He's more than that, though.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, he got one. He had 23 cards left in deck at the beginning of that turn. Drew 6 cards. Only 1 Dream Portal. I think on average that was 2 or 3 Dream Portals. Because he drew about a... Oh no, I guess the average was less than 2. Because he drew a fourth of his deck.
I supply only the finest creatures.
That was about Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
I mean, this is just so hard to come back from. All this board presence from Empanizado. I mean, it doesn't even matter that he's missing his Ysera, to be quite honest. He can just go ahead and win through just pure board presence. Ivan Griffin, of course. And insult to injury. Nalguidan not giving up hope because he still has this portals in his deck. That is tough. Try and overcome.
So he can Mount Seller and then draw 2 cards with Rising Winds and Innervate, and...
I supply only the finest creatures.
Yeah, this ain't happening. I can't even... Okay, Fungal Fortunes, I guess, makes a little bit more sense. He could pick up Dream Portals plus removal. So if he gets, like, spell damage from the Dream Portal, and then can get Bog Beams as well. I don't know.
It's looking bad, Teach.
Yeah.
Looking real bad. I mean, Nazari would be nice if the Battle Cry kicked in, but... Not getting any taunts even, just to give him a little bit of time. And with this, I think Nalguidan knows that this game is likely concluded. He's also summoned so many minions onto the board that it's unlikely. Oh, he did find the spell damage.
Yeah.
Wow, Empanizado, with his proactive game plan, also happens to just be very annoying for Drew to deal with because there's just a lot of health. It's just kind of funny that he just drew like 3 or 4 portals he couldn't use.
Yeah.
And Empanizado can just go ahead and press in. The unique take on the deck list ends up being good in the mirror. And, you know, it's important for Empanizado. He's taking these risks. That's one thing that you gotta give it to him, you know? The respect for, like, bringing in unusual deck lists that a lot of other people aren't doing and finding a decent amount of success, right? The important thing is it gets the win. It doesn't have to win spectacularly. Even if the deck goes 1-3 or something, like 1 win, 3 losses throughout the weekend, if you're still winning the series, that's what's important ultimately, because you need to get that W across the board for your lineup to succeed. Yeah. And now, perhaps the hard part is over, TJ. and now we have just Warrior remaining. And Warrior, by many, is considered to be the best class in the game. So I think that this is looking pretty good for him.
Yeah, and honestly, Empanizado, it feels like he's been given the opportunity to play Warrior more so than most players. I'd be curious of that stat. He's playing against a lot of lineups that are not banning Warrior. And, you know, it's kind of a lineup victory because the Quest Warlock ended up being, you know, a great bring because it opens up his Warrior. And Empanizado, out of all the decks that he's played, his Warrior play has impressed me the most. It feels like he does have a significant amount of practice on the deck. He showed a lot of discipline with it. So, given 2 chances to win with Warrior against either the Druid or the Highlander Hunter, I like Empanizado's odds. He is playing the Egg version with Terran Gorefiend and only 1 Corcoran Elite, but he does have the Grom Hellscream at the top end. So, while this is not my favorite version of the list, I do see its power, and just its ability to stick boards is more consistent than the version that runs like the Deathwing, the meaty version that runs Captain Greenskin, the Deathwing, and double Corcoran Elite. Because a lot of times in that list, one Corcoran Elite just kind of comes down early on in the game.
Right.
And
yeah, I agree with that. Actually, when I was playing a lot of deck lists that was cutting Corcoran Elites, it always felt like I regretted not putting them in more. Just as like an opportunity to really like give myself flexibility to use Corcoran Elite as a tempo tool, because sometimes the deck is so combo oriented that, you know, you can struggle with essentially just having plays to make. So definitely can get behind that. Taking a look at the opening hands here for Empanizado.
Not the best.
I mean, not the best, not the worst.
Yeah.
Sometimes merit, kind of thinking about if you want to do anything besides this, but...
Yep. He does have live wire land, so at least he's got a turn 3 play. Key thing there, Nalguidan did not coin out the Imprisoned Felmaw, which... coining out the Imprisoned Felmaw just always feels better than just playing it on 2. It feels like it puts like the illusion of pressure on your opponent, and they always feel the need to play around it in some capacity, but Nalguidan didn't really have a follow-up to his curve with Faceless Corruptor and Bone Wraith in hand. He would have just been hero powering or developing a Snake Trap.
Right.
On turn 2, so he felt like he might as well just save the coin, maybe get a more powerful play down the line. Turn sooner.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. I still probably, if I was in his position, would have coined out Imprisoned Felmaw. I don't want to call it a mistake or a bad play or anything. It's just, you know, player choice, honestly.
I think Imprisoned Felmaw is just a really important card because it warps people's play. Almost the reason why I think Felmaw is a pretty fun card too is just because it creates a mini objective within the game, which is like, oh, you know, I'm gonna like hit your face for 5 for 2 mana. It's up to you to like prepare around it, right? Some people choose not to acknowledge it, and some people are just like, yeah, whatever, I'll just like play a bunch of small weenie dudes, and then you just try to like hope that it trades into it. And that kind of dynamic just puts stuff in the favor of Hunter because it feels like it's difficult for the opponent to handle, right? Because they have to play like inefficiently to get there. So I'm a big fan of it. I think it's great. Coining it out doesn't really seem wrong to me as long as you have a reasonable curve behind it.
Yeah.
And he does.
Yep. The coin for Rottennest Drake would have been pretty clean here if he had a dragon in hand, but doesn't have a way to activate it. Zephrys is also clean, but Zephrys is such a pretty big tool that it feels...
right.
You know, it feels like you're not wasting potential, but maybe cutting the potential short by using it just for a Shadow Word Pain. I don't think there's anything fancy you could do.
The one thing that I like about this Shadow Word Pain is that it sets up a really powerful board that Empanizado has to use a bunch of resource to clear, and he hasn't demonstrated that he has the goods. He does have Risky Skipper, Armor Smith, Battle Rage, but that's not even enough.
Oh, wow.
Ooh.
Wow.
Huh. Well, it's kind of an unusual choice, is it not?
Well, yeah, he's giving up the opportunity for Zigzor Prime because he transformed the Zigzor, so he doesn't have that as kind of an out later on in the game. But this is just the most power on board, the most potential power on board. And so this means that Nalguidan's game plan shifts from, well, I could have Zigzor Prime as a reactive tool later on in the game, but if I just pressure him, I don't need that at all. I'd just rather have aggressive tools, and I'd rather not have a quote-unquote dead draw as far as proactive plays go in my deck.
Sure.
This Empanizado,
that's understandable.
Still, he's under some pressure right now. And he does have Risky Skipper, Armor Smith, Blood Boil Brute, Battle Rage. But if he takes too much pressure in the meantime, maybe that's not enough to stabilize. Still no dragon for Rottnest Drake.
But I mean, he's got a lot of damage, so if anything, how much is like Savage Roar here?
13 on board plus 8. 21. With Dino Tamer Brand in hand, would it give you Savage Roar? That's the question. It's not lethal.
That's also a good. Yeah, that's actually completely worth asking as well.
I mean, he's got 3 mana remaining and 3 attacking minions on board. I still don't know. With a 5/4 on the other side of the board, I just don't think it would.
Right. I actually do like this play. It's presenting the highest attack minion, and Nalguidan could just threaten to kill his opponent with what's raw on board. He's also reducing the amount of damage minions on board, so that Blood Boil Brute is less effective. So this is a good little pan out here by Nalguidan. And now Empanizado, he's got the pieces.
He can't get the Battle Rage off, though. The Blood Boil Brute will cost 2, and he'll still be 1 mana short.
That's... So maybe what you do instead is...
Value trade then Witchy Lackey?
Yeah, I think so.
And then just trade with the Livewire Lance as the last attack?
Yep. Or Inner Rage just to save HP.
Yeah, no, that's possible.
Whoa, he bounced Tyrion forward ring. Holy cow. Whoa. What a reversal. You talk about some of the best 8-drops in the game. Find me one better than that, TJ.
Your wish is my suggestion.
Can't. No, I can. Octosari. Boom. Next will come out, but that's Nalguidan Zephyrus and his whole turn.
Right, and he was planning to set up like this 2-turn lethal.
Oh,
Terran Gorefiend.
Battle Frog.
The frog can be a 1/2. You can hear it attack. Is that the right thing to do, though? I kind of want to start off with Battle Rage before we do that, right? I want to draw more cards.
Yeah, so do I. No Risky Skipper in hand, no Anchor, no way to damage minions. I'm just taking the draw 2 Battle Rage here. He could draw 2 with Battle Rage if he really wants. He can Rampage, Value Trade, and then Terran. You're actually removing more power. I mean, if the Battle Rage could change things here and deviate him from Terran Gorefiend. Yeah, now that looks even more appealing.
Yeah, this all looks pretty solid to me, to be honest.
Yep. he's at a cool 26.
Very cool. Very nice.
And 13 damage in hand over 3 turns. That's assuming he picks up no damage lackeys. 3 Live Land swings plus a Corcoran Elite. So he's close, and Nalguidan, the only way he has to defend himself with Zephyr's gone is that Bone Wraith. Or, you know, crazy things from Dragon Queen Alexstrasza. That's always something that you have to keep in the back of your mind. No Zixor Prime because he transformed that with the Faces Corruptor, so that's not an ability for him to come back. As soon as Highlander Hunter has to start playing reactive like this, it's bad news.
Yeah, Highlander Hunter really wants to just be proactive with stuff. They have some reactive tools. It feels like, to me, leaving up this Armor Smith is super punishable. But, I mean, there's not much choice for Nalguidan, quite frankly. A lot of his choices are just really poor right now.
Yep. This is a snake trap. Nalguidan does play 1 freezing, 1 snake. So Empanizado does have to respect both. But he's got a pretty easy way to do it with the Titanic Lackey on board. Just have to think through what his play is if it's either secret. Gets the nod that it is snake.
Sea Skipper is not available, but still got some good stuff.
Yeah, he's still got some good cleanup plays here. Live Wire Lance, draw a Lackey, then you can Warmaw Challenger the Fairy Dragon, and then just push the damage to face. Yeah, I mean, why not get a spell too?
Sure. Boom Squad.
Boom
Discover
Squad.
Dragon. All right. Okay. Sure. Oh, interesting that he doesn't evolve the Warmaw Challenger. Although I guess he plans on utilizing Terran Gorefiend.
Yeah.
He's also keeping minions damaged in case he wants to play Battle Rage off the top. Doesn't really seem like Nalguidan has anything to do but just play defense here.
Yeah. I mean, Empanizado has not had Anchor, hasn't drawn another Risky Skipper, has used 1 Battle Rage for, you know, mediocre value as far as the potential of the card's concerned.
Right.
He's still got Tiamat, he's still got Dragon Queen Alexstrasza, he's still got Varanus in the deck, so there, you know, there's a couple bailouts still left for Nalguidan. Even like Primordial Explorer at this point, just to, you know, kind of generate a game plan. Or tracking, for instance. Those are still massive cards. And even though he's running out of life, Empanizado is also just running out of threats. But with Blood Bowl Brute picked up, that's a good one. This allows Empanizado to still, you know, keep going with some big plays. Look at Blood Bowl Brute over this, trade Warmaw Challenger, and then hit face, and see if there's a Lackey that he wants. Or he could Boom Squad first and see if that changes his play. Order of Operations.
Drink your blood, eat your flesh.
Could change here depending on outcomes.
Right.
But I feel like the Lackey first, since that's just a much smaller range of possibilities. Whoa!
Okay.
Whoa!
Killing his own minions.
Whoa!
It's a gamble, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm Nalguidan, this is the window I kind of was looking for. I mean, sure.
Yeah.
Let's see what this.
It's Freezing Trap still up in his deck, and Nalguidan's
Yeah.
like, all right, well, this has a huge upside of killing a Blood Bowl Brute, a Terran Gorefiend, and a 2/11 Warmaw Challenger.
Right.
But he has a Corcoran Elite.
Yeah, but that thing is still not dying.
Oh, he's dead.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, because he can just replay
Nice
the Broken
try.
Elite.
Well, Nalguidan really tried hard, but it seemed like Empanizado's Warrior was not going to be denied. And again, it's definitely something to call into question of whether or not Warrior is justified being left up. But, you know, the target strategy doesn't seem to be helping. Warrior gets through, and Empanizado with another win, a crucial victory. And after a rough start to his round robin, this guy's really brought it back. And, you know, even though we can maybe disagree on some lines or perhaps even just overall small like plays here and there, it's hard to go even in this field. Even in this field for me is like a big win. So well done, Empanizado. He is a newcomer, right? And we kind of focused a little bit on Language Hacker and Popison. But this guy is also a person making waves, and you got to be happy for him to be able to pull it for a 3-3 record.
And
on the flip side, though, Nalguidan 0-4. Oof.
Yeah, 0-4 are going to be tough to come back from. At least he's in Division A. That's the light at the end of the tunnel for him. Because even if he sits at the bottom of the standings, he still will be able to fight the relegation bracket, not be automatically relegated. But one last point about that game: the Terran Gorfine is actually a very clever lethal setup from Empanizado. Because if he just leaves the Risky Skipper and or not the Risky Skipper, the Warmaw Challenger and Blood Bowl Brute on board, if somehow they both get removed, he doesn't have lethal from hand. But with the Terran Gorfine on board, he would have to remove Terran Gorfine and then remove also the Blood Boil Brute and Warmaw Challenger, which is impossible. He has lethal guaranteed. So even though the Terran Gorfine seemed weird, like putting less power on board and putting like two like more powerful things inside of it, it's actually a very clever like guaranteed lethal setup, knowing that there was no in-deck defensive tools left for Nalguidan, except for Freezing Trap, but then that's, you know, he has answered that because he can just play the Korkron twice. So very nicely done there at the end of the game from Empanizado. A play that looks kind of weird on the surface, but when you dig a little bit deeper, very clever.
Yeah. Empanizado's got a lot of clever plays and clever decks, and it makes him a joy to watch, honestly. Looking forward to see him in the last week. He's well set up to potentially make playoffs now. So with that, that brings us to our halftime for today. We're going to take a little bit of extended break while we get ready for our Division B matches. You saw a little bit of a teaser there, Purple and Frozen, Team Liquid battle coming up next, and then we'll wrap it up with Zelay for Spins. So don't go anywhere. After several minutes, we'll be back with more Hearthstone action here for the Grandmasters.